Today we're going to talk about how to handle a situation where a client is ghosting you. So in this video, I'll walk through a few different ways that you can handle this situation, and I'll provide you with a few different templates that you can use if you need to follow up with a client that's disappeared. We'll have a few different templates and a few different ways that these are worded depending on what stage of client ghosting you're in. So whether it's your first message to a client that has gone off the map, or it's your second or third follow-up after they've withheld payment, we'll talk about a few of the ways that you can handle some of these different situations. So naturally, the first response that you're probably going to have if a client ghosts you is to panic a little bit, especially if you've already completed the work and they've disappeared before paying you. Now, if you do encounter a client that ghosts you, what you want to do is try to remain calm about it so that you can remain professional. Just because they've disappeared doesn't mean that they're never going to come back, and you don't want to jump to conclusions and freak out before you even know what the situation is. Before you reach out to your client to ask them what happened for the first time, you do want to consider a few things. First, you don't want to jump to conclusions. Don't automatically assume that they're trying to withhold payment from you or even that they are purposely ghosting you. There's always a chance that they've just missed your email or message, and you want to confirm that before you start aggressively emailing them. Now, the second thing that you want to do is to actually assess the situation and decide what you want to get out of following up with the client. Are you just trying to confirm that they saw your email? Do you need a specific turnaround time that they need to confirm? Or do you want to go ahead and let them know that you won't be able to continue working with them without constant communication? Be sure that you think about these yourself and that you actually answer these questions before you're sending that first email to your client, because that is going to frame how you're going to follow up with them. It'll be easier for you to respond in a professional manner and to make more sound decisions regarding the whole situation with this client if you remain calm. So if you need to take a breather, if you are feeling really triggered by this client, go on a walk, go call a friend, and just take a minute before you actually send them an email. So next, you're going to actually want to go ahead and follow up with that client. So of course, this is going to depend on your unique relationship with that specific client that you have. So the best way to follow up with them, I'm going to be talking about emails, but it may be sending them a Slack message or even giving them a call. So this first follow-up message that you're going to send to your client that has ghosted you is really going to try to resolve the main issue at hand, which is finding out whether or not they've actually received and read your last email or last line of communication. If you need to, definitely read your message that you plan on sending your client to a trusted friend or colleague to make sure that the right tone is coming across. Remember, you want to remain professional in this first email, and you really shouldn't be aggressive or make assumptions. Here are a few different examples of emails that I've sent clients after they have ghosted me, so feel free to use these yourself or to change them up however you need to. So this first one I used for a new potential client that had reached out, but I didn't hear back from. This one says, "Hey client name, just wanted to follow up and see if you got my previous email about your design project. Would love to work with you and get started on your project, so please let me know if you have any concerns or questions. Thanks." The next one is an example of following up for the first time on an invoice. "Hi client name, following up to make sure that January's invoice was received." And here I would insert the link to the invoice again. "Please confirm receipt and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you." So that line that I used in that last email is actually a really good one that you can use across any important email that you send, or if you definitely need a response or need to confirm that they received materials or different information. By just asking them if they could actually confirm that they received the email, this eliminates a lot of communication issues going forward. Wait an appropriate amount of time before following up again, but if they don't respond to that first email, definitely do send a second one. Now, the trick with second or third or fourth follow-up emails is to slightly escalate the urgency of the email to get the client to actually respond. So I'll give a couple of different examples for this. If a potential client is reaching out and this is kind of part of your initial communication, but you're trying to get them to complete their onboarding process or they're being really slow to commit, what you can do is let them know that your schedule is filling up. Sometimes this creates a little bit more of a sense of urgency so that they know that they actually need to get their their end of the deal completed for you to actually start working together. Another example is if a client ghosts you at the end of a project and they're withholding payment. If you had a price escalation clause in your contract, you can definitely remind them of that to encourage them to pay the invoice as soon as possible. And if after another email or two they still aren't responding, you can let them know that you will pursue legal action. So here are a few examples of second follow-up emails that I've sent to clients. So this first one, again, is going to be for people who are reaching out and could be potential new clients. Hey client name, following up one more time on this. If you're still looking for help on your project, I'd love to work with you. My schedule is filling up for this quarter and I'll only be able to take on 1 or 2 more clients. So please let me know if you're still interested and I'd be happy to get started on this. Looking forward to hearing from you. Now these next 3 email examples are follow-ups that I've had to send on invoices that went unpaid. So this was follow-up number 2 for an unpaid invoice. Hi client name, could you please provide an update on the payment status for October's invoice? Thank you. The follow-up message after that was, hi client name, could you please provide an update on the payment status here? As a reminder, the final deliverables were approved over 90 days ago. I would prefer not to bring in the legal team here. Thank you. And this last follow-up, unfortunately, is an email that I have actually had to send to a client. Sometimes people are just awful. So this one said, hi client name, following up on this invoice provided all the way back in June. It has been well over 90 days and the payment has still not been received. As our contract states, there will be a late payment penalty equal to 5% of the amount overdue for each month outstanding until paid, beginning with the due date of the late payment. I'm hoping we can resolve this ASAP and make sure we're paid by the end of the week at the latest. I'd rather not bring in legal here. Thank you, client name, and please let me know if you have any questions at all. So do these emails always work? Unfortunately, no, but if you have a few of these experiences, which you likely will at some point during your freelancing career, you can definitely use these experiences to learn from going forward. Unfortunately, if you're just not receiving a response from a client, it's often going to be best to just let it go and move on to a different client. But if that client ever does come back to you, you can definitely let them know why their lack of communication made the project not work. When you run into clients like these, it's also a good idea to take note of any red flags that you saw either before you onboarded them or as you were working with them, and hopefully you can avoid clients like that in the future. This still leaves a lot of people like, okay, well, why did they disappear in the first place? Like, what is the point of that? Why did that happen? And there are a lot of different reasons why clients may ghost you, but these are 3 of the most common ones. First is that it may just not be a good fit. So very similar to applying to traditional jobs where you send off your application into the void and you never hear anything back. The same goes for freelancing a lot of the times. So when people are looking to hire freelancers, they often get a lot of applications or are talking to a lot of different freelancers, and they simply may not have the time to respond to every application that they get. If you're not a good fit, you may not get a response. The second reason is that they may have started working with someone else. So like I said, people and companies will often receive hundreds of applications from freelancers and they don't have time to respond to every single person. So if they found another person who was a better fit, or if they even found an agency that was a better fit, they often are not going to keep communicating with you even if they put you through the application process. The third reason is that they may have lost confidence in your services. So yes, it can actually be on you. If you are showing examples in your portfolio that are not actually accurate representations of the quality of work that you can do, clients are going to figure this out and they're not going to continue working with you if your quality of work is not actually up to what you're showing in your portfolio. Likewise, if you have submitted your first output to them and it's not at all what they wanted, or you didn't follow their instructions, then oftentimes they're just not going to continue working with you. Hopefully they paid you for that work, but business owners have a lot on their plates. So if this scenario sounds like something that you're doing, it's most likely that they've moved on to finding a more qualified freelancer. Okay, so how can you actually prevent clients from ghosting you? Responding to clients within the first 24 hours of when they initially contact you is going to greatly increase their chances of wanting to work with you. And in addition to that, you are going to kind of set the standard with those first few response times as to what you expect going forward. If you take a week to respond, you can't expect your client to respond in 24 hours. But if it's equal on both ends, then that is totally fair. And the second thing that you can do is to always, always, always sign a contract. So freelancers will structure their contracts in different ways. Some people take 50% payment up front and then 50% when the project is done. Others will use a retainer pricing structure where they'll receive the full payment for their hours at the beginning of the month, and those hours are used throughout the month. The benefit with both of these is that if your client does end up ghosting you, that's kind of on them. You've already received your partial or full payment for the work, and if they're not responding, then they just aren't going to get the rest of the work. If you aren't comfortable doing contracts on your own, then using a platform like Upwork or Fiverr is usually what I recommend to people. So with these platforms, they are set up in a way that has payment protection for you as the freelancer. So what happens is when a client agrees to do a project with you, they will have to pay the first milestone of that project to the platform. And then once the work is complete and submitted through the platform, that payment will be released to you. Of course, the whole experience of having clients disappear on you is frustrating, but unfortunately, it is very likely that you will run into this at some point in your freelancing career, and it's good to know how to handle it. If you are new to freelancing and you're looking for more tips and help getting started, I do have a free guide down in the description on how to become a freelancer in 30 days. That has a bunch of little tips in it that will help you out, but just know that over time you are going to get better at spotting these problematic clients, and you can hopefully avoid these clients from the beginning as you progress in your freelancing career. I'll definitely have more videos like this walking through how to handle different scenarios as a freelancer, so if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe to the channel.